really need to get a tripod. Thanks for joining me today, as I'm still waiting on the quilt batting. I can't continue that project, so I'm going to make a bag using this as the main fabric. But I don't really want the whole thing to be white because that might not be a good idea for a purse. So I'm going to incorporate these and this one. So usually I add 3 zippers to my pocketbooks. And I think the only color I have in 3 is probably the navy blue. And that's good because I plan to incorporate this corduroy, or it's not corduroy, it's denim really, into the pocketbook. So now that I have my components, it's time to design the bag. My goal is to fussy cut some of this out. I don't want the whole pocketbook to be white because that would be torture to try to keep it clean. So I think I'm just going to fussy cut some of this out and focus on that. And by doing that also gives me lots of leftover fabric to do something with it later. So that's what I have so far. Just wanted to offset it with this lime green because I wanted to punch those colors before I bring in this dark. And then I'm going to finish out the front panel with this dark denim type fabric, and the liner will be one of these 2, whichever I have enough of. And maybe I'll incorporate some of this into the back pocket as well. We'll see. So this is the panel for the front, and I'm going to put a zipper here for a pocket that'll go, into the... And this is going to be gusseted about 3, maybe a 4-inch gusset. So I'll do a 2-inch square to make it a 4-inch gusset at the bottom of the purse. And then at the top, it'll just be gusseted enough to accommodate the straps. So it won't be so square or rectangle when it's done. I just have to accommodate for the gusset that I'm going to put in. This is going to be the pocket, and it'll be on the inside underneath anyway. So I folded a piece of fabric in half, and at the fold I'm going to come down 1 inch and draw a line, and then from that line will be my zipper opening measurement, and then I'll draw another line and I'll make a rectangle, stitch around it. Okay, so these are my lines for my zipper, and I'm going to pin it here where I want my opening to be on my front panel. And then once I have it pinned where I want it, I'm going to stitch on these lines. Okay, now I will slit my hole. I'll start it with this and then cut it on up. Pockets all through now, so I'm just going to go through and iron. And then once I get it ironed from that side, I'll pretty it up on the front and iron it again, because sewing isn't just about sewing, it's about ironing. Originally, I was using this color thread, but I don't really like it on the darker blue. And especially, I feel like this maybe is this lime color is more of the focus, so I'm going to switch my threads, because now it's going to be visible as I install the zipper. So I'll just pop that thread out that you can see. It shouldn't be seen anyway after I install my zipper. Zipper is installed. Ta-da! It's hard to do one-handed. So now I will cut off the excess zipper, bring this down and meet it to the bottom, and then I'll sew this on the 3 sides, and I don't have to sew the top because I folded it there, remember? And then once I do that, I'll have a full pocket. And man, this is hard to do one-handed. And that's what it'll look like on the inside. So my back panel is completed. Well, it's not completed, but the pocket is attached to the back panel. And then, you know, the back panel and the front panel have been interfaced. Oh, hold on. Interfaced. And I've cut out my gussets. So now I want to make this pocket divided, or, you know, otherwise this will just flap open all the time. Plus the divisions are nice to organize, and I'm all about organization. Anyway, because this is going to be gusseted, I'm going to draw a line using my ruler from this corner to this corner. And why that is as this pocketbook is gusseted, these parts will kind of wrap around and become a quasi side panel of the purse. So I don't want my slip pockets to, you know, I don't want the slip pocket. If you put something in a slip pocket, I don't want it to necessarily be able to roll around to the side. So I'm going to draw a line from this corner to this corner, and then keeping those lines in mind whenever I do my slip pocket, you know, and anyway, I'm also going to, because this goes all the way down to the bottom of the panel, and just like with the sides, this part will become the bottom panel because of the gussets. So it'll technically look like this. Now you're getting an idea of sort of what the purse is going to look like. Well, anyway, so same with this. I don't want to put something in my pocket with the opportunity for it to roll all the way down into the bottom part of the pocketbook. So I'm gonna give myself a line across to give me a stopping line so things can't go all the way through, and then also for the sides so things can't just like wrap around into these odd places in the gusset. Lines. So I'll just stitch following my lines, and then I'll come back and give myself a middle, or maybe I'll divide it into 3 for the slip pockets. Now that my front panel and back panel are finished, I'm just using my back panel, laying it on my liner fabric, and then I'll use my straight edge to cut it out. I decided to use, well, you know, with thrifted fabric, I have to use what I have. But thankfully, I had some of the denim type fabric left over for the strap, and I had pretty much just enough. I try to make them around 60 inches long because, you know, with making an adjustable strap, 60 inches can fit most people if they carry it on their shoulder or across the body, which I highly recommend across the body. But anyway, so I just did the little, you know, mitering technique where you join fabric together. I folded it in half to give me a line. And then I'm going to take and fold each side into the half and iron it, obviously, and then fold that, and then I'll stitch down both sides, and it'll make a nice strap. I did not win the race. Right in the middle of stitching down the strap. I do have this. It's not exact, but it's probably close enough, and yeah, I meant to do that. I just realized, as I ran out of thread, that color, and I was going to rethread it with this, that I forgot to change the bobbin color earlier. So now the back has a different color than the front. Hi vey. So the quandary now is to unstitch it all so that I can use the same color bobbin, which would keep this all the stitches the same color on the straps. So it's probably what I'm gonna do. So now I'm going to install the zipper for the top, and I'll do so by attaching the zipper to the back panel, or one of the liner panels and one of the outer shell panels. And I'll start by finding the center of the top, and I'm just gonna like fold it in half and give it a little nip there that's going to remain in the sewing allowance. See there? And then I'll do the same thing to this. And also, I will do that same trick to my zipper. So there's the center here. I'm just going to give it a little nick here. Then I'm going to flip it around and give it a little nick there. And then I now have the center of my zipper, the center of the top of my outer shell, and then I'm going to do the same thing to this, and then I'm going to put it all together and I'll show you. There's my nick, or my little mark. And then I'm going to put my zipper matching that together. Now, I'll actually pin this a little bit just to keep it in place while I put my front panel down, but for the sake of showing you. And then my front panel, I'm going to put right sides together of my liner panel and my exterior panel, ignoring that the zipper is in between as the sandwich. But I'll just match all those little nicks together and then just go down either side. And once I get it all pinned, I'll come back and show you the rest. Okay, it's all pinned or clipped, whatever you want to say. My zipper sandwich with right sides together of my outer shell and my inner shell, right sides together, and the zipper in between, and I'll take it to the sewing machine and stitch it as close to the zipper as I can. Okay, so now the zipper is installed on one side of the inner and outer piece. Now it's time to install it to the other side. So using my little snips, just like before, I'm going to put right sides together. I know it doesn't look like that because you're seeing the right side on the outside, but you're just going to look at this as if it's a zipper. So I'm going to put this zipper in the sandwich and then put right sides together, ignoring the pieces already sewed to the zipper on the other side. And I'm just going to clip it as such, just like before, and then stitch across. The zipper is installed, and I ironed it, pressed it, and then did a stay stitch down. Now I will take both pieces of the outer shell. Oops, can't do one-handed. I really need a tripod. And I'm going to stitch these sides of the outer shell, and then the lining shell I will stitch the same, except I'll leave a hole big enough to turn everything inside out or right side out, and I'll leave it just big enough here on the side. Most people put them on the bottom, and that's fine. I've been lately, and I used to do that, and I've been lately more so putting them on the side, because once I stitch it, it's not as visible, I feel. It's just a preference thing. And here we go. So I guess I should mention that I gotta do it from this way. Before you sew around, oh, where is it? There it is. Before you sew around, make sure you open your zipper. Otherwise, you know, it'll be harder. Trust me, it'll be much harder to do it after you sew everything else together. All the sides are sewn, all those. So now it's time to work on the gussets. Those. So basically, I don't know, let me see. Let me get here so you can see me. So I'm just going to kind of like put the seam. Did you see that? I probably did it too fast. Okay, let me do it like this so you can see what my goal is. I'm just going to put these two seams together, and let me say here. And by doing that, I don't know, let me clip it so you can see better. Okay. I do one in the middle where the seams meet. So you can see there, it gives me this flat edge. And I'm just going to stitch along there. I'm going to do my 1/4 inch seam allowance. That's what I've been doing through the whole thing. I'll do the same thing on that corner. And the two bottom corners on the lining. Then I'll come back and do it to the top, which I know it looks funny now. But you'll see what I mean. I think in my haste and excitement of showing how I make pocketbooks, I forgot one of the things that I normally do. It's not a problem. It's really not. But it's something that I consider a standard in my pocketbooks. And it's not a big deal. But I'm really thinking about taking the whole thing back apart to do it. Okay, so what I'm talking about is like the zipper at the top. Normally, I cut the zipper a little bit shorter than an opening and then make up the difference on either end of the zipper with fabric. I call them zipper tabs, but that's probably not what it's called. And I do that so that the zipper doesn't run all the way into the seam when you open it or close it. And it's going to make it a little bit challenging closing the top, doing the gusset on the top, but not difficult, not impossible, but challenging. And I'm not sure how I feel about the zipper opening in such a way. My husband likes to say, is the juice worth the squeeze in situations like this? Is the juice worth the squeeze? Is it worth taking the pocketbook back apart just to add those little pieces of fabric on either end of the zipper? Let me move these over here so you can see them better than on top of my floral press board. So these are going to be what holds this, like this, to the purse, to the pocketbook. And basically, I just did the same thing I did with the strap. I took a piece, the width that I wanted, folded it in half, and then fold the ends into the middle. And then for this, because this fabric is a little bit stretchier and lighter weight than the denim, than what I used for the strap, I did add a little bit of interfacing there. And I'll just like, stitch it on either side to make it look, make it look really nice. And then before I attach it to the purse, I'll add my little hardware there. And then when I turn the purse inside out, these will be up, and then I can attach my strap to these. So one of these will be in either corner of the purse. With it back in the hole, I'm just gonna kind of like push it down in there, and then I'm gonna do the same thing with this gusset as I did the bottom gusset. However, there is also a gusset with the lining at the top. Gosh, my camera work. So I'll basically just gonna push this flat like I did with the bottom, push this flat like I did with the bottom, keeping, which I just lost it down in the hole, keeping the tab, the bottom of the hardware tab in its place, and matching those two together. So let me do it because I can't with one hand, and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like before I sew. So you can see I pushed it, pinched it flat and on both sides, and meeting the seam to the center of the zipper kind of helps you do that. And so both the liner and the outer shell will get sewn straight across, and also catching the tabs that's holding my hardware. But before I do that, I'm going to trim the excess of this zipper off, and then, truth, turning it right side out. This is why it's important to have that zipper open. So I'm going in through my turn hole. I'm going to reach down in here and grab the bottom of the outer shell. Hopefully I left my turning hole big enough. If not, I might have to unstitch myself a little bit to give myself a little bit more ease, but I think it's going to come through. Let me speed this up. Okay. Now that it is all, I'm going to really focus on these corners. And sometimes I like to use a chopstick or whatever to poke out the corners, get them nice and crisp there. Okay. The exterior corners are done. Let's do the lining corners. I probably won't need that for the lining. Okay. Now I just need to stitch up my turning hole. Now that it's stitched, let's shove the lining back inside and finish pushing out the corners at the tops where the tab that holds the strap hardware is. Oh, that's not so bad. I was fretting over the zipper. Normally I add a little bit of fabric to either end of the zipper so that the zipper, when you open it and close it, doesn't run into the side. But it's not so bad. And I also was concerned about it making it difficult to close up that gusset, because the opening of the zipper would be, and anyway, but it wasn't too terrible. It wasn't terrible at all, actually. So I don't think the juice would have been worth the squeeze to have taken it all apart to add those little zipper tabs. So I'm glad I didn't waste the time doing it. And I'm refraining from holding the bag up any further until I add the strap and it gets its unveiling. All right. One of the standards, or one of my standards I like to incorporate with all of my pocketbooks is an adjustable strap for a couple reasons. When I was a motorcyclist, I started wearing my pocketbook across the body. because of riding purposes. And I realized then that wearing a crossbody, it didn't hurt my neck and shoulders because I have neck and shoulder issues. So from that point in my life forward, every pocketbook I carried, whether I purchased one or made one, had to have that strap that I could carry crossbody. Also, not carrying a bag on your shoulders, you know, there's more security risk of somebody swiping your bag, and I don't like to talk about yucky things, but you know, it's just, I'm a firm believer in a crossbody carrying type of bag for those reasons. So let's do the Tri-Glide. The Tri-Glide is, and there's some that have the adjustable bar. I don't really like the adjustable bar. I feel like it's another weak point in the, you know, it gives it a weak point that it could, you know, break or whatever. So having a solid Tri-Glide is my preference. So the trick, because it was confusing to me, so until I started doing it all the time. So you put the fabric up through the middle, and then you're just going to wrap the fabric around that middle bar there. Now I'm going to come back in, and I'm actually going to do like a rolled hem here, and I'm going to sew that down, and that will be the first step. I have sewn the Tri-Glide to the strap, and it's through that middle bar, so that top bar and bottom bar are exposed. Okay, I'm going to take this strap, the other end of the strap, and put it through the loop on the hook, hardware loop, whatever, on the purse, and keeping it straight. Let me get it through here. Keeping it straight, I'm going to bring this up, so it's coming up through, and then I'm going to feed it back down. Okay, just like that. And now I'll give myself some slack here. This is the other side of the purse, so I don't want to come in from the middle, because then that'll put your sewing hem on the outside. I'm going to come in from the outside in on that loop, and then I'm going to double hem it and stitch it down just like I did around the center of the strap.